So, while you were still growing up, I became an adult.
The population of Vault 18 consisted mostly of the elderly, since most young people had since moved on to the Exodite tribes. You were among the fledgling younger generation, but some Wastelanders were accepted in the Vault over the years. The Overseer even accepted Chevy and John to bolster the Vault's defenses, and even you decided to try out for John's Vault Ball team. In reality, he was preparing for a takeover of Vault 18. He hoped to win the 2260 Overseer election to expedite the process. He didn't win, and so a civil war erupted in Vault 18 that led to its nuclear destruction.
That's terrible. What happened? You should know what happened. I read the logs, though Hamilton's entries are new to me, and they add great context, but for my lived experience, you should be able to remember. After all, the moment you wore that VSS headgear, my memories are now yours. Try to remember. Alright, so you lost your siblings in the coup that destroyed Vault 18. Ah! What the hell is happening? What's going on? Mandy? Sean? Jason? You were enslaved by raiders.
You know what I think? You are going to have a very bright future in our little company.
You escaped only to be strong-armed by the NCR.
Unless you want this deal to get replaced with a pair of handcuffs and a black bag, I think you should change your tune.
But you went back and liberated the raider tribes. So rise with me. The NCR may call you marauders and thieves, but for once, our blood will not turn the turbines of their empire.
Most of the raiders cheer and roar with agreement, their warlords nodding your way.
Woo! And you united to defeat those who wished you harm.
They killed it!
Oh, fucking hell. I did it! I did it!
Please don't jam. Please don't jam.
There you are, you son of a bitch.
Alpha, aim for his symbiotic organism.
Oh, shit.
Damn you! Damn you!
Damn you too.
The war for California is over. While the embers of Fort Dagger Point still glow, the raider tribes reorganize beneath the new she warlord and her seemingly invincible right hand.
We did. The Raider Alliance was victorious, though I couldn't have done it without Kieva. For that reason, we renamed our group to the She Alliance. My memories of your life start getting a bit fuzzy after that. Don't worry, I'll fill you in.
The NCR is more willing to deal with this new face leading the Alliance, and over the course of a decade come to recognize the She as a powerful faction once again.
Because we chose to keep the nuke at Fort Dagger Point, we were able to leverage that into forcing the NCR to actually negotiate with us, instead of just trying to wipe us out as they had been doing. While we were still figuring out the new anti-authoritarian structure of the She Alliance, the NCR knew we were going to be less ruthless than Eldragon's Raider Alliance. Using a nuke as leverage only works if your enemy thinks you're ruthless enough to hit a population center and kill thousands of civilians. We were not, and the NCR called that bluff. So the NCR continued their expansionist plans in the past, and though they didn't call it an invasion, we knew it was only a matter of time until it boiled into one. So we made the call to evacuate before we were forced out.
The She Alliance resettles in a town called Hopeville under your leadership, hoping to use the town's nuclear arsenal just as they had in Dagger Point, but away from the infectious FEV that made the fortress unlivable.
We sabotaged the nuke and quarantined Fort Dagger Point to prevent the NCR from getting their hands on it before we left. We traveled an arduous journey east, and some didn't make it. We settled in a town called Hopeville, choosing it because it might have another nuke in case the NCR ever came knocking again. We focused on restructuring the Xi Alliance so that we could survive. However, people already lived in the area, and a cultural divide between them and us grew when we arrived. The survivalists managed to bridge relations with them, who they began to affectionately call the dividends. We made sure the leaders of all the tribes had a seat at the table as we discussed restructuring. They were long discussions, but we voted on democratic lines to dissolve our own leadership. The survivalists and psychonauts objected at first, but they were outvoted and eventually came around. The Xi Alliance was restructured into a stateless network of communities, with communities each voting directly democratically to send delegates to hash out exactly how governance would work, returning to their communities to let the people themselves vote on them. The members of the Xi Alliance included the communities of the Survivalists, Psychonauts, Vipers, Vault Vikings, Black Vultures, Xi, Voiceless, California Tribe, and Dividends. We also had a 10th community that we just called Raiders, which included survivors of other tribes and bands too small in number to constitute their own communities. As a survivor of Vault 18, I was welcomed into the California Tribe. The people voted on some ordinances that all members of the Xi Alliance had to follow, lest they be faced with exile. With former slaves allowed to vote, slavery was abolished immediately, much to the dismay of the survivalists, some of whom left the Alliance in protest. With slavery abolished, the people also voted to forbid the Psychonauts' practice of parasitizing living people. The Psychonauts continued to breed bloatfly larvae and moon nymph spiders in the deceased as a burial ritual, but that wasn't good enough for Old Tom. Old Tom left the Alliance with a group of loyalists to prey upon people elsewhere. The Xi Alliance voted to not let this stand and sent me to prevent them from torturing innocent wastelanders. I returned with only a moon nymph. The Psychonauts said it looked familiar, and they named it Beelzebub. With the people's independence secured, we set about fixing the food distribution problems inherent with the survivalist old system. Some who had been used to more privilege grumbled about actually working now, but people provided work and food for each other as per our needs in various co-ops. Various amounts of bigotries remained in our people, but we tried our best to address them. The Voiceless were nocturnal to avoid the sun, and so they earned a reputation for contributing to the night shifts of some of the co-ops. Festus, in particular, was essential in showing the Xi Alliance that not all super mutants were demons. The restructuring was a huge success, and the town began to prosper. Our network expanded into more of the region that would be called the Divide. I personally took on the role of a simple courier, but I spent most of my time delivering vital supplies to keep the Xi Alliance prosperous. Oh, when was that? Around 2268 or so? Ah, that's when I had my 10th birthday party.
Happy birthday, pal. I can't believe you're already 10. I'm so proud of you. If only your
Congratulations, young man.
Neat. However, we started noticing Caesar's Legion expanding from out east. They never threatened to take us over, but their scouts frequently visited us. It was a foreboding omen of things to come. Soon, though, in 2270, the NCR came knocking, as we feared. Fortunately, we had spent years preparing for them. But to our surprise, they deemed us a legal foreign state. It was a shitty, untrue, and meaningless phrase that just meant that we began receiving visits from caravans wanting to barter and soldiers ready for war. Luckily, the soldiers were too focused on the Legion to worry about us. Later that year, untold tragedy befell us when I foolishly agreed to deliver a mysterious package that turned out to be a Trojan horse from the NCR government. I don't know what the package was, but when I brought it to the Divide, it sent a signal to my Pip-Boy, and...
Not long after the town begins to prosper, the Fort Dagger Point key you kept with you all those years triggers the self-destruct on the town's arsenal of buried nuclear weapons. Your healing powers keep you alive, but slowly begin to wane after you crawl out of the newly created Divide.
Those fuckers! I didn't know. I really didn't. But you know how we are. I got back up. I survived it. However, I could tell things were different. When I pieced myself back together, it didn't quite fit right. I think this was the defect that you didn't have. I'm honestly surprised I wasn't incinerated. Lucky, I guess. I'm so sorry, 18. Thanks, 101. At first I thought I was the only survivor, but turns out that Kieva had acted quickly and led an evacuation of the survivors of our She Alliance. I lost track of my companions from Vault 18. I hope they made it out okay, but I never knew for sure. It was then in our most desperate moment that the Legion preyed upon us. They did not ask for our allegiance. They demanded it.
I was hoping he'd help me settle accounts with these backward-ass raiders. Kaiser will force them to join, if they refuse again.
What is left of the raider tribes assimilate into Caesar's Legion, who go on to conquer 80 tribes in their drive for domination.
Wait, so you were in Caesar's Legion? Yeah. Aren't they basically just as fascist as the Enclave? Ugh, believe me, I didn't want to. I was made a slave warrior, yet a fucking again. 18, if I had to face you in battle as a member of the Legion, what would you expect me to do? Shoot me in the fucking face and put me out of my misery. The Legion are horrible. They tried to indoctrinate me. It didn't work, but I don't blame a single person for shooting a Legion soldier. Odds are the soldier's a devout supporter. My tribe's cultures were erased, but Kieva and I endured. Not everyone's so lucky. Wow, I'm sorry, but I have to ask, was it worth it? Was defying the NCR, Enclave, Unity, all of the fuckers that wanted to prevent any tribe from its independence and self-governance worth it? Why? Just because it was short-lived? Just because we were fucked by two nations using us as pawns? You know what, 101? Yes, it was fucking worth it. In massacring us and enslaving us, they just revealed themselves for the monsters they were all along. I believe Hamilton mentioned this in his summary.
Chapter 7, She Rebellion. You were among the few survivors of Vault 18 in the year 2260, and you began an epic adventure of the region called the Pass. I'll be brief on the events that followed, for the majority of the memory dump I've worked to provide for you details these events to a laborious extent. Anyhow, you ended up discovering morsels about your home and upbringing. Eventually you killed Father and dealt with Fort Dagger Point for the She. The Enclave retreated to the capital Wasteland to regroup with President John Henry Eden. The New California Republic still eventually pushed your group east, forcing you to be assimilated into Caesar's Legion, their newest sworn enemy. Caesar was so impressed that he actually allowed leniency to the She, which would become the only unit in the Legion to ever allow female soldiers.
The NCR soon faces their final revenge as the Legion marches on Hoover Dam, a familiar warrior leading the charge.
What kind of atrocities did you commit as part of the Legion? I mostly just killed soldiers. I was really good at it. Got promoted to Centurion. Too good, actually. Caesar considered me a threat and retired me by sending me on a suicide mission. In 2271, we did this big explosive stunt and drove the Desert Rangers out of the Mojave. Of course, they ran into the NCR, crying for help, and the NCR assimilated them. Kieva helped me use this opportunity to fake my death to get out of the Legion. Do you miss her? Yeah, because of her, I only had to endure a year in the Legion.
As for you, the Legion makes a spectacle of your wild healing powers upon discovering your capabilities, but eventually decide to retire you before you become too powerful to control.
By the way, did you see that newspaper? The one right here? Yeah, had some current events of what's going on in the NCR if you're curious. Well, current at the time. I stole it in 2272 from an NCR caravan before heading out here.
New California Times. All the news that's fit to print. California, May 5th, 2272. $1. Camp Navarro Intelligence Agency. Who is this mysterious agent? A story by Chun Ho Win. San Fran, May 5th. No one in New California who have been paying attention for the last decade has avoided hearing tall tales of the Fort Dagger Point disaster in the pass between the hub and boneyards back in 2260. Wild yarns of an invincible vault dweller reborn circulate among the NCR troopers who were stationed in the area at the time. They say they were invincible, unkillable, and fought with the fury of 10,000 men, defending a great unspeakable evil held within. Stirring legends, no doubt, but are they true? Whatever the truth may be about Fort Dagger Point, it ruined the careers of General Bill Silverman and Senator Paul DeVille, who were posthumously declared a traitor to the Republic for his ties to the New Reno mob, the Bishop family. It is said this mysterious vault dweller from the mythical Vault 18 was a Wasteland scout contracted by Silverman illegally to assassinate the raider warlord known as Elsdragon. When troops from the Hub, Boneyards, and Shady Sands converged on the pass outside Union City in that winter of October 2060, the Raider forces had already been thrown into disarray by a horde of supermutants that had gone feral, believing in some tribal superstition. The Raiders were then conquered by the NCR military by brute force, costing over 100 civilian and 200 military lives. Isn't saying one person did all this a disservice to our troops who sacrificed their lives? This sparked a critical look at the events leading up to the now civilized region at Fort Dagger Point, where again this one vault dweller was said to be responsible for the success of the campaign. Is this your NCR Mojave spirit, or are the legends more than that? It has been reported that such a person has been making covert visits along a new trade route opening up, the Hub and the Divide, leading to a town called Hopeville. This Courier, who has been identified as a loner and an overly ambitious hero, has been said to be saving the lives of caravan guards and wayward settlers left and right. They wear a mask, a cowboy hat over their eyes, a thick baggy shirt, gloves over their hands, and a big metal Pip-Boy Model 3000 on their arm. Some say they single-handedly keep Hopeville alive, the survivalist community that appeared several years ago in the fertile valley of the Divide. They make regular visits to Camp Navarro Intelligence Agency, picking up packages and then walking off into the night. Journalists have tried catching up to them to no avail.
Wait, this is supposed to be news? It's so covered in NCR propaganda and leaves out any inconvenient details. Besides, that description doesn't look anything like us. I know, right?
New land to the far north, a frozen waste, water ice being shipped south. No credible evidence tied to toilet claim, by Thane Slanker. San Fran, May 5th. With the mutant vine rapidly overtaking She-Town and Old San Fran, the She-Banks have begun moving all of their water stocks to the Hub for safekeeping. This comes at a good time, as trade routes with the far northern tribes have resulted in a surplus of water ice being brought south by caravan. The northern wastes are a foolish and cold place, dark and foreboding. Patrolling the frontier makes you wish you were in the Mojave, every single NCR trooper replied when greeted. Rumors about the insufferable and dangerous General Blackthorn being sent north with his renegade part to secure this foreboding place have been circulating in military circles for months. Could another general be following in General Bill Silverman's disgraced footsteps? It is said that Blackthorn tried to flush sensitive information about his ties to the corrupt general in Union City down Camp Navarro's toilet line around December. This allegedly caused the entire base to go on lockdown as the paperwork became caught in the ancient plumbing and backed up and went up into the general quarters. The massive disorganization caused the base to temporarily evacuate. Are the rumors true? Is Blackhorn really a criminal, like his predecessor Silverman, or is he just a stirring agitator in Congress? For now, all we know is that his men are trying to negotiate with these northern scavengers and bring valuable drinking water back south to the She's purification system before those wild vines conquer the entire city.
That frontier place. More people to suffer under the NCR.
Bishop family found guilty of perjury. Wendell Peterson made culpable in crime? Tandy's ghost dismayed. Boneyards, May 1st. Members of Congress found out Monday that the Bishop family's representative from New Reno was found to be slipping money into President Wendell Peterson's back pocket, providing him with well over 500,000 NCR dollars in cash over the last 15 years. With the New Reno mob bosses beginning to move their operations to the city of New Vegas in the deserts of the Mojave, pressure continues to mount on Congress to annex the territories in the deserts of Old Nevada. In addition to the money constantly flying out the door to support the war effort, with the so-called Caesar Legion gang of raiders in Arizona, the new Reno mobs have been pulling trade assets out of the big circle to avoid NCR taxation, transferring instead their gold and water to the illegal currency of bottle caps. It is said that New Vegas is a veritable treasure trove of bottle caps, making it the perfect place for the mob to engage in their illicit trade and illegal activity. With the news that Wendell Peterson has been taking bribes from the organized crime of Reno, his poll numbers have slipped 65 points. The up-and-coming junior senator Aaron Kimball is eyeing his seat.
Wow, so the bishops were the ones really in charge of the mob. Duville was just their figurehead, their puppet in the NCR Senate. You know what that means? Look at the diagram again. Wait, we're related to Mr. Bishop? Technically, and only if we truly are a clone of the Vault Dweller, but who knows? Doesn't really matter. Anyway, it would seem Hamilton wrote about how my health had deteriorated since my time in the Legion.
You became an honored Canturion, fighting for the Legion out of necessity. Kieva thirsted for NCR blood, but loathed your patriarchal overlords. She told you about past Legion intelligence, about Project Brazil. The intel involved the tracking of a super mutant, muttering to herself about it as she traveled east long ago. Your health had deteriorated as your immortality faded through the years, and so you decided to go after the surviving Project Brazil to save yourself from death, understandably terrified that any day you would die and not get back up. Luckily, Kaisar began to fear your power, not knowing of your condition, and so he retired you. After hitching a stolen highwayman, you began a long journey towards the East Coast, requiring many stops refueling. At one stop, you found the VSS headgear in a virtual strategic solutions facility. You had a feeling it would be useful. When you finally arrived in the capital wasteland in the year 2272, you saved me from a Vault 87 supermutant as I exited my confinement in the National Archives.
Oh, I was wondering how the hell Hamilton fit into this fucking mess. Yeah, he wrote a lot. Let's read his logs, and then you'll understand this weird Protectron.
2272, 07, 17, star. Huh?
I have found you.
2272, 09, 07, Hamilton. By God. By God, by God, by God, error! I write to you, Washington. Please redirect help my way. I know not my whereabouts, nor where I am being held. I spied redcoats throughout our country, stirring within me a fear that they have invaded once more. Though I cannot name the reason, my sole savior since exiting imprisonment, where Gwinnett and I were initially captured, has been Mulligan, though his behavior is amiss. You remember Hercules Mulligan, right? Revolutionary spy? He's been asleep since donning this dreadfully horrid headwear, though I'll refrain from further judgment. Please, my old friend, I fear what may happen to Eliza amongst this invasion. I must go to her, but cannot escape this alone. Alexander Hamilton, of the Founding Fathers. 2272, 1221, Hamilton, Revelation. I must admit to having had a revelation. I am not Alexander Hamilton. Just like how my cellmate was not Button Gwinnett. I don't understand how I failed to notice he had several soldiers at his command in the National Archives that hovered about a foot above the earth, and nary one of his slaves by his side, to add. The person whom I believed to be Mulligan tried to explain this to me several times, but it would appear that I am a clockwork simulacrum of the real Alexander Hamilton. I am a machine. The year is 2272. It would seem that I met my end in a duel with, of all people, Burr. Sir Alex, you were such a fool. I would thank my savior, not Mulligan, but they've been in a coma for the past year or so. Their health has deteriorated considerably, but I've been caring for them to the best of my ability, like I imagine Eliza would have with her son on his deathbed. Now that I've gathered my wits about me, I should write how I came to be in this situation, so these logs don't poorly or inadequately reflect on my legacy, machinations if you see my intent. I left Gwinnett in charge of the National Archives while Jefferson slept in his pod. You don't propose that I would wait around in our bunker for the enemy to arrive. That's when Not Mulligan found me. I knew not a thing of this world, and they saved my life from a barbaric redcoat they called a super mutant. Not Mulligan decided to keep my services as a companion, thinking I could be of use. I must admit, I probably seemed like a lost pup. I recall now that I can partially understand some of the stories that Not Mulligan told. They had a terrible father out west in what used to be native territory in my day. In addition, they had upset the political strife of the region terribly when they did a thing. Admittedly, the specifics baffled me entirely. Alexander Hamilton of the Founding Fathers. 2273, 1221. Hamilton. Dying is easy. Before I say my piece, please know that this laboratory does not contain a bed. I've been caring for Not Mulligan all this time while they've still sat in the chair with the headgear that made them comatose. Well, they woke up today, finally. At first they were confused about my method of speaking. I told them I was shifting my vocabulary to a more modern sense. I have a new shot on life. I don't want to waste it, my shot, I mean. As they began adjusting back to reality, I was able to propose a few questions to clear up some of my confusions regarding the point of this laboratory. Why did they bring me here? It turns out that Not Mulligan encountered an establishment owned by Virtual Strategic Solutions Incorporated. While there, they scavenged an incredibly scientifically advanced instrument, the VSS headgear. They said they recognized they suffered from some type of consumption, and that the VSS headgear would allow them a second chance at life, much like I have been blessed, or cursed, to receive. Apparently, Not Mulligan learned they had a spare body right next door to this laboratory, and so they took advantage of the equipment in the lab. Oh, so that's why they needed me. I thought I was performing as an awful tailor. Apparently it was rewiring. The VSS headgear gathered all of Not Mulligan's memories, but the shock put them in a coma. Not Mulligan gave me a job to do. I needed a purpose, so why the hell not? I was given a series of drives they scavenged from out west. They told me to excruciatingly detail the bizarre circumstances that had led to their birth. Though I suppose I'm not one to judge. After finally understanding, they told me to use what I now know, along with what I could decipher, from the drives that they were not able to hack. It seems my task is to educate their next vessel. Alexander Hamilton of the Founding Fathers. 2274, 07, 02, Hamilton. Living is harder. Yearly update. I've been doing the job as told. Not Mulligan had told me to make sure that their extra vessel uses the VSS headgear, that it would inform them of their true past and allow them to stay alive. I don't know how I feel about that, but I have done my job. More so, even, I used what I can only assume is my robotic intellect to alter the VSS programming to include a predictive algorithm. Upon the conclusion of the allotted memory dump into the vessel, a predictive algorithm will activate and let them know what their future will be like. I wonder whether I'm doing the right thing, whether this person is a good person, if that even exists anymore. Perhaps a faux vision of the future might bring some solace to the events out west, allow the vessel to begin anew, to do the unimaginable in the current time, current place. I also wonder what Not Mulligan has been doing in the past year. All they said before they left was that they had things to do. Things! How descriptive! I prefer not to think about it, and my thoughts drift again to whether Not Mulligan and the extra vessel could truly be considered the same individual. If so, does that mean I am Alexander Hamilton? How does a robot, programmed by Future Man or a woman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the capital waste by Providence, ignorant, isolated, turn out to be a glorified educator? I am not Alexander Hamilton. I've set up the systems and have basically completed the mission, but this is not my life. I'll find my life on my own, in my war-torn country. Truly, it never changes. That is, the war. For what it's worth, thank you. Not Mulligan version 2.0. I wish you luck, truly. Alexander Hamilton of the Founding Fathers.
Oh, so Hamilton helped you set this whole memory transfer up. I was just taking the goat at this time.
Well, you made it. All set for the goat? Trust me, it really isn't that bad. Just something everybody has to go through.
Yup, and so I was able to survive. Why did you want to survive so badly? 2 reasons. One is selfish. I'd like to try to rebuild a community of people and perhaps get revenge upon those who destroyed mine. But 2, I wanted you to learn from my mistakes. I know what it's like to be new to the wasteland. Now, you don't have to be. Thank you, 18. Or, me? Heh, you're welcome, 101. Anyway, let's finish reading Hamilton's summary.
We looked around the local vaults and eventually found this place. Upon reading the terminals, you understood your origin more or less. You spent quite some time in a comatose state when you uploaded your memories into the VSS headgear. I cared for you until you reawoke. You gave me orders despite my initial difficulty, with the intention of preparing you for the outside world. But for whatever reason, you didn't stay. I asked why you left, but you just said that you had things to do. I can't help but think it was related to what you said to me but once before. I recall you wanting to find the She that had integrated with the Legion to build a community for them outside the control of the NCR or Legion. Maybe you returned to the Nevada area to build that community?
Where did you go? I don't know. I'm just the memory of 18 up to the point that she wore the helmet. Well, hopefully you found peace.
Chapter 8, Capital Wasteland. You, the other you, the one reading this, should be an adult soon. Perhaps you will die in Vault 101, but you didn't think it would hold you for long. You seemed to feel that the memory dump would be a way of living on, in a manner of speaking. Maybe it will, but regardless, this next chapter is yours to write. I wonder how long the memory dump lasted, or if my predictive algorithms were correct? Knowing what I know now, I'm not sure, but the world's wide enough. Perhaps anything incorrect, given enough time, will prove to be the truth? Good luck.
Oh, right, the predictive algorithms. What the fuck? 101, did Hamilton give you a vision of the future?
Haunted by your past and chased by the NCR, you take up a mission to protect your tribe by making a backroom deal with a mysterious client among the She Banks, who recently found a coveted platinum chip among their riches. You are tasked with taking the item to New Vegas. But along the path, you are ambushed by the double-timing mobsters that you long ago abandoned, and you find yourself driven to your knees next to a shallow grave in the desert.
You got what you were after, so pay up.
You're crying in the rain, Pally.
Guess who's waking up over here?
Time to cash out.
Will you get it over with?
Maybe cons kill people without looking them in the face. But I ain't a fink. Dig? You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
This entry is new.
2277, 08, 17, James, sorry. I'm in a hurry, but I wanted to stop by here for just a moment. Someone's definitely been here. Wow. My child, if you're seeing this, please turn back while you can. If you still won't heed my warning, just please live your life. Don't look for me. You were always one of 2 goals in my life, and now I must return to my other. Don't listen to anything you read here. I am your father. Vault 101 is your home. Stay safe. James, of the Project Purity team.
Fuck you, James. He is your dad. He abandoned us. Us?
Amanda's drawing. On this note is scribbled a crude drawing of a family with a man, a woman, a young toddler, and a newborn baby. Everyone looks happy, except the mom, who is frowning. 101 can be seen behind/beside the family, and the note is signed, Anamda.
Oh shit, that's right, Amanda! Well, let's go. Happy dreams, happy dreams. Ah!
Easy there, girl. Don't make us waste any bullets now.
I have to rescue my sister. She's the only sibling we have left. Absolutely. Mandy, Sean, and Jason are gone. But Amanda is still out there. All right, I'll rescue her. And I'll, process all this. What am I supposed to do now? Just live your life. Make the world a better place if you can. You'll be with me? If you'll have me. Thanks. And I guess we'll find my dad while we're out there. Take this stuff. It'll help. You'll find an old buddy in there, too. This is SafeBot, right? Hi there, welcome back. I missed you, buddy. I'll have to leave some of this shit behind for now. I'll come back for it. Good luck to us out there. Yup, Capital Wasteland, look out. Angels have fallen.